Yeah, how's it going, Jeff? How's things? How's it
Uh,
been since the last time we spoke?
I'm living the dream, as I say. I totally love staying
Living
at
the
home all
dream.
day doing nothing. That one a joke.
Well, we're on 35 points, Jeff. 35 points.
Yeah.
The last time we spoke, obviously, was on the Kevin Sharp episode. We didn't get to do one last week due to I was feeling a little bit under the weather after getting the vaccination. But here we are, a step closer to safety. Like, despite us having such a really good start to the season, having a great season, like we really are talking about living the dream.
Yeah.
Leeds United are living the dream at the moment, and to be on 35 points before we've even hit the end of February is absolutely brilliant. Um, so yeah, where do we start? We've played three matches, unbelievably, since the last podcast. The Arsenal match, obviously 4-2, a little bit of a disappointing start in that match. Let's talk about that game for a few minutes. I know it's dated as far as everything is concerned, but probably a little bit unlucky and not to get something out of that game in the end. We went 4-0 down, scored two pretty decent goals to get back into the game. Super bullet header from Pascal Strike. And of course, Helder Costa came on, and that seemed to be a little bit of a turning point in the season for them. Or so we hope. Bamford Maya had a penalty, but what do you think overall? Just to kind of sum that game up, did we deserve that now?
I definitely think we did. It's just the first half we didn't play well at all. Then we came out at a different team in the second half. We, as you said, Pascal played very well that header. Costa was like kind of came on and did very well as well. But we had a few opportunities here and there, but we just couldn't get in and score another two goals and make it like at least get something out of it.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit unlucky. We maybe in the penalty shout in that game, and maybe the penalty shout in the Southampton game, we've gotten lucky with VAR, but we haven't had many decisions go for us, more go against us than for us. The Bamford two offsides so far this season, and again with that penalty shout, I thought we could have had something in the Arsenal game. In my opinion, I thought we were in with a strong shout. The two guys came in. The guy forward closest to the touchline for me totally impeded him and didn't get any of the ball. For
Don't
me, I
forget to
thought it was a
subscribe
penalty.
to
But
our
I think
Bielsa
with
Ball
10 minutes
YouTube
ago, if
channel
that
and our
penalty had been
Facebook
given,
page
it would
for
have
all
been
the
the
latest news.
proverbial
To see the
squeaky
full
bum time
video,
for
just
Arsenal. And
click the link in the description.
I think they might have cracked under the pressure. I think we might have got an equaliser, but it's ancient history now. Obviously, we improved in the Wolves game. Very, very unlucky not to get something out of that match. I thought when the ball dropped in the 95th minute, a former Wolves player, Helder Costa, he must have thought all his Christmases came at once, because I would have thought that. If I was playing against my old team and the ball dropped to me in the position that it dropped, I wouldn't have missed. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. And he missed. And we lost the game 1-0. So, we could be on 36 points at this moment in time. But um, Southampton, 3-0. Where did that come from?
Yeah. Like it's like same with kind of with Arsenal game. We didn't play that well in the first half, and then we came a different team in the second half. Like Raphinha was an unbelievable buy for us. When you think about it, we got him for a bargain. Like what was it, 18 million we got him for? Was it 17, 18?
18. Yeah. It was less than 20 million. But what a steal that's looked. I remember I think I've mentioned it before on another episode, listening to one of the reporters of the French Premier League, uh, an English guy, and he was saying that Raphinha looked a decent player at times, but never really fulfilled his potential, and he was very unhappy playing on the right in France. I think Bielsa has really worked his magic. I think Raphinha's come in, he's bought into the whole thing, because you can see he's a pure flair player. Hard to say. And he's a kind of guy that you can see him tracking back and really playing for his team. So I think he's bought into the Bielsa thing now. He's starting to get linked around with other clubs, mostly by the media. I'm sure he has his admirers as well. But yeah, an absolute steal so far. What's your opinion on Raphinha, Jeff?
Unbelievable. Like it took him a while to get into kind of his kind of rhythm, should I say? Like in terms of like at first he was a bit hot and cold, but he's starting to be more consistent now. Like it was a brilliant free kick. And as well, like he's been unlucky when he was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and then the player came in and tackled him. He should have taken a shot right away. He was a bit cocky, maybe just waiting a bit too long.
Yeah.
Maybe would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think one of the main reasons he started to come into his own, one of them, only one particular dimension. I think because Calvin Phillips is not playing, that he feels like he has a little bit more of what would you even call it, importance on the pitch, because he's taking the set pieces, he's taking the corners, he's taking the free kicks. Now, I'm not totally against Calvin Phillips doing that, but when you have somebody like Raphinha in the team, they have to be taking everything all the time, no matter what was happening beforehand. You look at some of the goals rather scored, and since Calvin has left the team and he's been out injured, obviously we'd rather have him in the team. But what I'm saying is we've scored from set pieces since he's been out. You're talking about the Pascal strike header. You're talking about the free kick that he scored the other night. And I just think we look overall more dangerous with from set pieces, attacking wise, without Calvin taking the set pieces. So I think Raphinha has added to his confidence, having the responsibility of them. He's a class player in the first place. You can see he's picking out, even when the passes don't come off, you can see that he has the ability and the vision to be trying to play them passes. I think he's been our standout player, definitely. Definitely in the last few months, maybe not the beginning of the season when he first joined, but I think in recent months he's just been a cut above everybody else.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's just brilliant. Like with our other signing, kind of Rodrigo, he was a bit kind of like he showed bits and pieces. Now he's had injured, but maybe he was coming into his kind of like getting probably into his best, showing what he's worth, and then he got injured. He slowly, you know what I'm saying? He was slowly getting into probably coming in, showing his money's worth.
Yeah, do you know what? We've been so unlucky with the signings that we made. Obviously, a huge landmark the other night that not only did Diego Llorente last more than 7 minutes, he lasted the full 90 minutes. It was great. And do you know what? I thought he had a really good game. I thought he'd done really well. Obviously, you could see the match sharpness wasn't quite there with him, but he managed to get through the game. And I think another thing that not many people picked up on anyway, in my opinion, I noticed with Diego Llorente, he played quite a lot of long balls the other night, and he almost relieved the pressure that we put ourselves under when Calvin Phillips is not playing. We tend to try and play the ball out when Calvin's not there, and nobody naturally drops into that position. Now, that doesn't matter if Pascal Strike is there or if Jamie Shackleton or Click is coming back in to kind of share the responsibility. You can see that Pascal Strike isn't great when he's facing his own goal. He's a bit cautious of turning left or right and turning into trouble. But what Llorente gave us the other night, he gave us a couple of long balls, and I thought it just bypassed what's normally a pure pressure zone for us, and that really added to our game, I thought. So it's really nice to have somebody new with different styles and different methods. I don't know what you thought about Llorente's performance today.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. He did play well, but he made a few errors here and there. But it's going to take him a while to get used to the Premier League because it's a different league. Yeah. It's the Spanish league as well.
That's match sharpness.
Yeah,
that's match sharpness though. He hasn't played a full 90 minutes all season. Like he came on against Chelsea, and even at that, it was one of the only. I think it's the only game this season there was fans at. And he got booed all the way through the match, and it's quite what would you say? It's unavoidable to hear the boos when there's only 2,000 people in the stadium. Yeah, but, I think overall he's done well. Another player I've been really impressed with, and everyone's quick enough to jump on his case when he makes a mistake, and he has made a couple. Unlucky against Wolves is Illan Meslier or Meslier, as my dad called him. He's done really well. I think the Wolves game was pretty good. We all know the mistakes he made against Arsenal. All goalkeepers are bound to have a match like that every now and again. Like I say, he's broken the record even more now. I think it's 8 clean sheets for a player under 21 in the Premier League, and he looked fairly astute, fairly confident the other night against Southampton. How do you think Meslier has done?
Yeah, he's very young, as you know. Like he's 20, but he doesn't even look 20.
But yeah, he looks about 12, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, like he's a good goalie, but like he does make a lot of mistakes. But when you think about it, he's learning on the job as well. Like put it this way,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want Kiko in over him, so he's our only choice. But like he's good, but it's gonna take him a while to like kind of get experience. Put it that way.
Yeah, I think poor old Kiko gets a raw deal, you know. I was reading stuff up on him the other day. People slagging him off. And what you've got to remember, bar the games he was suspended for and the very last game of the season, Kiko Garcia played every game he was available for in the league last year. And you know, we got promoted. Oh, right, he's vulnerable to mistakes. But as you can see, with even the likes of Allison, uh, who's probably the best goalkeeper in the world in many people's opinion, he's susceptible to mistakes. Every goalkeeper is susceptible to mistakes now. Granted, Kiko's mistakes are
Huge
most
errors.
of the time at the worst possible time. But you know, there's got to be good in him as well. You know, you got to be able to give credit where it's due. And I'm sure that the likes of Meslier is learning off Kiko now, whether he's learning how to take on a centre forward when he comes rushing at him into the box and how to take him down. I'm sure that's something Meslier has seen Kiko doing in the past. But I think overall, his game, he's only going to learn if he makes a mistake here and there. And unfortunately, in the Premier League, you're under the microscope. So I think for a 20-year-old, I think he's doing really well. I do notice, just from watching goalkeepers in school level down the years and being involved at some goalkeeping training and stuff like that I've observed. I do notice a couple of little bad habits with Meslier. A couple of things that I can spot that I think he needs to improve on is near post play is quite weak. He tends to anticipate a lot. I remember there was an OG earlier in the season, and the ball was on the line rolling in. It took a deflection, I think, off Helder Costa. I can't remember who it was against, and he didn't even realize where the ball was. He tends to almost mark the space with his vision. It sounds like a ridiculous statement, but there's just certain things in his game. Like he tends to blame people a lot. You get him up, he gets up after the goal goes in. He's looking for somebody to blame, even when he's at fault. I just think his overall positioning at times from set pieces as well kind of puts himself under pressure, which he ends up punching things and pushing balls out and kind of putting the defense under pressure. So there is a lot to improve on his game, and like you say, he is learning on the spot, on the job. So yeah, fair play to him. I think he's shown a big improvement in the last few games. So
Yeah, it's like the one other thing about it is sometimes when he goes to punch the ball, I'm like, would you just catch it? Because it's just when you punch the ball out, you take a risk of like kind of either mistiming it or like
yeah.
like I think it's kind of a different thing with these kind of foreign goalkeepers. They're more likely to punch than catch.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I suppose it comes down to what the goalkeeping coach is instructing. I noticed a big difference in Leeds set pieces since we kind of start getting tarnished as a team that concedes a lot of goals from set pieces. Patrick Bamford comes back now and he acts as a free man. So he's almost told to mark the space. It's like a zonal marking with Bamford where he comes back and he's just told to anticipate where he thinks the ball's going to go and he wins quite a lot of headers from it. And as well, Meslier tends to come for a lot more balls than he used to. I think we've kind of resigned to the fact that we have a pretty small team when it comes to set pieces and we can't challenge. So I think what they're doing is they're giving the goalkeeper a bit of a license to go and attack the ball if he thinks it's within his range. And he's dropping Bamford back in there as well to more or less do the same thing, but as an outfield player. So yeah, maybe he's punching more balls than he normally would have, or maybe he could catch them, but I think he's been instructed not to. I think it's just get it out of the danger zone, no matter where it goes. Once it's out of the box or out of the vicinity of the area, I think that's the main instruction that they seem to be getting. I'm going to move to a tweet from Phil Hay, formerly the Yorkshire Evening Post, from The Athletic now. And he tweeted, not word for word, but he reckons that in the more or less in the event that we're safe, and let's face it, we probably are now to 35 points has been the safety margin the last 2 seasons. I think for Brighton 2 years ago and Villa last year. He reckons uh, in the summer we're going to make up the 5 signings. Basically, talking what we talked about John Newsom a few weeks ago about just steadily building. So in the summer we'll buy 5 players, and we'll get in. We'll survive another season. We'll get another 5 players. We'll get in. We'll try and survive another season. And within the next 3 or 4 years, we hope that the survival rate has gone so comfortably that we've kind of moved up the league and we're challenging for European spots. I assume that's what the long term plan is. But if we're to sign 5 players, what are the positions that need to be addressed? And as well, there was a reply from a chap called Luke Maloney, which is fairly interesting. I'd like to hear the listeners who are listening to post their comments on this particular subject below, because it is an area of kind of controversy. But first of all, before we go to the players who we think we'll keep or we need to sign or whatever, we're going to go to the positions that we think we need to strengthen. Now, if we were to sign 5 players, what's the first position you'd strengthen?
I'd say goalie, maybe, to get an experienced goalie in, because I'd say Kiko will be out the door. So if there's even someone like Ben Foster, Tom Heaton, it'd be good to get in just as well, like for an experienced goalie as well to have in.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Goalkeeper is one that I have marked down. I have my 5 positions marked here. I'm not sure how long Kiko's going to stick around Leeds. He's getting to the twilight years of his own career, and it's fairly likely that at the end of the season he'll probably head back to Spain and probably head down to maybe in the Segunda Division in Spain. I think we'll sign a left back. It seems to be a position that we're crying out for, and I'll get to our current left back scenario in a few minutes, but I personally think that we need two midfielders to go in, 2 central midfielders to really reinforce what we already have. Again, I'll get to the players in a few minutes that I don't think will be there next season. I think it's unlikely. And then we need to sign another striker. I agree.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's fairly important. Not for the basis that the player that we have or the players that we have now in the striking position is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Patrick Bamford has more goals than Jamie Vardy this season, which is phenomenal. He's been the standout player this season for us. But I do think if we do get a bit of a striker crisis, a little bit like we have at the moment, in that number 10 role, we've Tyler Roberts playing in there at the moment. Now, I don't know what your opinion of Tyler Roberts is, but to me, he just looks like a player who's way below standard. Every now and again, like the pass through to Patrick Bamford the other night, you go, yeah, great pass, but even a broken clock is right twice a day. For me, Tyler Roberts is nowhere near good enough. I looked at the whole kind of broader picture in January, and I looked at the squad, and people were saying that he was linked with a move to Derby. I kind of went, no, don't sell him, because if we do have a striker crisis like we did at centre back, we'll have no natural strikers at the club. And even if he's below par, it's a natural position for him, and you'd rather have somebody playing in position than the likes of Jack Harrison playing centre forward, which he did against Crawley. And we seen kind of how that worked. So that moves us on to the reply from Luke Maloney on Twitter. And he reckons the players that should stay and the players that there's a question mark over. Here's who he reckons should go. He reckons Berardi will go, Forshaw will go, Pablo will go, Casilla and Alioski. And he reckons that there's a question mark over Costa and Roberts. What's your thoughts on that from those particular players?
I'd say Forshaw, Kiko, and Berardi be out the door. I'm not sure about Alioski and Roberts. I'd like to see Alioski stay, to be honest with you, even if he's a sub player. I just think he's a decent player. He's not the worst to have on the bench.
Yeah.
Like I know he's not like a very strong left back. He makes a few errors here and there, but like he's decent enough to have, as I said before. He's not like the worst player, as I said a second ago. But I don't know what your opinion is on it.
Well, for me, I like Alioski. He's a likable character, but what you gotta evaluate him on what he brings to the team. And if you're looking at that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players that there's a question mark over, will they stay, will they go? For me, top of the list of that 7 of players that I would keep is Gianni Alioski. And the reason for it, technically he's not a great player. He gives 100% and he'll do a job for you the best he can. I think his biggest attribute is a little bit of a Stuart Dallas style, where he can come in, he can play as your left back, your left midfielder, he plays a left central midfielder, or he could play on the left-hand side of the front three, which gives you so many different options. Now, I know he's out contract at the end of the season, and the likelihood is he probably will move on based on that. But he would be the one that I would like to keep. Berardi kind of got the slight bit of generosity off the club because he'd been such a good servant and a longest serving player. He got another year in his contract. I reckon once he's back up and running, he's fit again, he'll be on his bike. The same with Forshaw. I can't really see Forshaw sticking around once he's back up and running and fit. Both of them would probably earn a really good career for another few years playing down the Championship. Somebody like Nottingham Forest or somebody trying to challenge back to get back up to the Premier League. Keego, I reckon, will go. Costa, I don't think there's any chance Costa's going to go. I don't think we've seen the best of Costa yet, and I don't think we've spent 15 million on him just to literally recycle him back down to the Championship and probably lose a fortune on him. It's not the way the club runs at the moment. The club invests so much money. Let's say we did do that with Helder Costa and we end up losing half the money we spent on him, as opposed to keeping them for another season and possibly him having a Patrick Bamford season in the Premier League next year. Who knows? We wouldn't have called it with Bamford this season that he was going to score 13 goals with still 13 games left to go. Nobody would have thought that in a million years. But if Costa turns into one of those players who just needed that extra bit of confidence and ends up turning around he ends up being a 40, 50 million pound player, and Leeds end up making a huge profit in a couple of years when we do sell him. I think that's the way the likes of Victor Orth is thinking. Moving on to the other players, Pablo looks like his legs is gone. I don't know what it is about him. He looks like, when you're playing a game of FIFA and you're down to the red and your players can't run or pass the ball anymore. I love Pablo. He's been such a He's been a super servant to Leeds United down the years, and he really got us over the line after lockdown. I know he was coming on. He was an impact sub. He got that goal against Swansea, and I thought he was absolutely super at the end of the season, even as an impact player. But I don't know, there's just something about him this season. He doesn't look right. He just doesn't look right. He doesn't look happy. He doesn't look happy to be sitting on the bench every week. You can tell that he knows the ability that he has. And he's seeing the likes of Tyler Roberts starting in a number 10 position and him sitting on the bench. And he's got to be thinking to himself, I wish I was 5 years younger. Because with Pablo in your squad and Tyler Roberts is playing ahead of you, the writing's kind of on the wall for Pablo there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like I said before, his legs are probably worn out as well. It's just, he's getting old, like we can tell. Like, what is he, 35 now, is he?
He's 45, yeah. He's not far behind me. Or ahead of me.
Do you think he'd be able for 90 minutes, do you?
I think, yeah. Listen, Marcelo is not going to have somebody in the squad who's not able for 90 minutes. I don't think he is anyway. He's such a stickler for fitness that I don't think he'll have somebody that's not completely able for it. That's just my opinion. But I don't know if he's as good as he was for 90 minutes anymore. So I reckon Pablo will probably end up at the likes of Huddersfield. I know he was linked to Huddersfield already because of the Carlos Corbian connection. That's a possibility. Another player that I would definitely sell in the summer is Tyler Roberts. he'll probably turn around and score on Saturday, and I hope he does, and I hope he proves me wrong. But I just don't see Tyler as a player with a future in the Premier League. I couldn't imagine him playing for anybody else in the Premier League. I think he's kind of a player that he's almost lucky to be there. And I know he's only a kid, and we're saying in one breath that Meslier is only 20 and he's learning on the job. Yeah, Roberts is as well. But I think by the time you've hit kind of that 23, 24 mark, or whatever age he is now, that you've kind of set your standard as a player. And I don't see Roberts as a kind of player who scores anywhere. I know people said about Bamford as well, and now look at him. But Roberts almost looks like a player who's a striker who doesn't score goals. He's a midfielder who gets frustrated too easily, and his passing is not great. So I almost look upon him as a player that doesn't have any position, any really strong position. You know, you might pull Alioski might be a left midfielder, and he can do a job at left back and left centre midfield and left centre forward. But Tyler Roberts is the opposite. Tyler Roberts doesn't have a strong position anywhere, and everywhere he plays, he looks like he's out of position. So he'd be a player that I'd sell. So you're looking at goalkeeper. I'd sign a goalkeeper. Yeah, Casillas going to go. A left back, Alioski, probably going to go. Central midfielders, definitely Forshaw. We need another one anyway. And then centre forward, Tyler Roberts. So you can see them taking making the vacancies and then ready to sign the player. If we're going to sign 5 players, we're going to sell 5 players. And I'd go for Berardi, Forshaw, Pablo, Casilla, and Roberts. And I hope we keep Costa and Alioski.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that. I wouldn't mind. I probably would have him, but I wouldn't mind to see Berardi stay, even if it's another season, just to have him, because obviously he's kind of what's what I'm looking for, kind of a great servant to the club. I'd just like to keep him another season, maybe, even if it's not on the bench.
I don't think that in the Premier League, I don't think you should be rewarding a player just purely based on loyalty. Keep him at the club. Yeah, Berardi's a lovable rogue, you know.
He's hard as nails as well, so it's good to have that in the Premier League. Just a player that's real kind of, he gets stuck in all the time.
I don't think you get away with it. I think he got turned, and he gave away so many penalties and free kicks in the Championship. I don't think the Premier League is suiting whatsoever. You know, Berardi as well. People tend to give Cassie a tough time, but Berardi caused us so much as well, especially in that derby match when we came back to 3-3 and he got sent off. And he always looked like he wanted to get sent off in that game. That's something that's always kind of stuck with me with Berardi. Yeah, he's a bit of a cult hero and is a balls to the wall kind of player. He'll get stuck in, and I love that. All my favourite players down the years, you have Vinnie Jones, you have David Batty, you have Lee Bowyers. But Berardi, quality-wise, you're questioning Alioski. Alioski's a far better player than Berardi. Got to be honest. And you're questioning whether Alioski should still be at the club or whether he deserves another chance. I just don't see Berardi cutting it at the Premier League. I couldn't imagine him playing against the likes of Aubameyang or something like that. You'd absolutely destroy him. That's just my opinion. Obviously, the people who are watching are going to have their opinions, and everyone has an opinion. So, by the way, trying to interact with everybody as we go along. If you agree with us, great. Throw a thumbs up, comment below, say that you agree. But if you disagree, let us know what you think, because we'll talk about it on next week's podcast as well. So we're trying to interact with people as much as we can as well. So where do we go from here? We've discussed Raphinha, we've discussed the last 3 games. So I suppose the Aston Villa game now, and the team news from the camp today is that the injury situation still remains the same. Robin Koch is due back into light training early March, which is next week. But Rodrigo remains missing and Calvin Phillips remains missing. And there's a very good question actually asked in the press conference from, I think, Baron Cross. And the question was, Calvin Phillips, he got injured against Palace, am I right? And in the pre-Arsenal build-up, Marcelo was asked, will Calvin play? And I think there was something along the lines of that he's still yet to decide whether he's fit enough to play. So there was a question mark that he might have played against Arsenal, but now he hasn't played at all since. So the question more or less was, is the injury worse than we first expected? And Bielsa's reply to that was, he doesn't want to rush him back into playing just in case it aggravates the injury and it costs him even more time by the time the season finishes. Begs the question: does Marcelo have one eye on all these April fixtures? Because we do have 3 absolute titans in a row. We've Manchester City, Manchester United, and Liverpool. 3 games in a row there. Plus we play 2 of our biggest rivals in a row as well. So he could have one eye on that. Who knows? Again, Rodrigo was missing. So what kind of a team do you expect based on that? Would you imagine anything different to the Southampton game?
I'd say be the same team, to be honest. I'd say be the same team. You?
He tends not to fix what's not broke, Marcelo.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be the same team as the previous game against. Sorry about that.
Southampton.
Sorry, Southampton. Sorry, I had a bit of a
have a swig of coffee there, Jeff. Have a swig of coffee there. Welcome to the podcast, Jeff.
Sorry. Yeah, I knew who we played against. Don't worry, Southampton. Yeah, he's always played the same side, so it's probably going to be the exact same team against Southampton.
Yeah, I reckon so. So you wore your Aston Villa jersey for this week's podcast, and oh god, yeah, I know. I actually have the jersey, and I still don't know if I like it. I suppose as a jersey, as far as a jersey goes, a nice jersey. As far as Leeds United is concerned, I'd rather this as an away jersey. I like the old yellow.
I like this. It's something new. I like it.
It's controversial. It really is. You know, they're saying it's an ode to the old red kit, and yeah, it is something new, I suppose. But there's so many other colours we could have went for. That's just my opinion. Yellow.
Yeah.
You have to have a yellow jersey next year.
I think didn't we have like a red kit like in one game back in like the 60s or 70s, and then John Reeve got rid of it or something like that?
We wore red loads of times back in the 60s.
We had one kit where it was only worn once. I remember seeing a documentary. I can't remember what colour it was, but apparently it was only like ever once worn by the Leeds team.
That could have been a particular jersey. No, I've seen Leeds wearing an all red strip. I've seen them wearing red with white shorts as well. So we have wore red on numerous occasions. We used to wear red socks a lot as well. But you got to remember that the kit manufacturers back then probably only made 5 different colour jerseys. You know, one of them was yellow, one of them was white, one of them was blue, one of them was red, one of them was whatever, green or something like that. So they probably didn't have, Jesus, we need a new set of jerseys. We're playing against a team that we're clashing with at the weekend. What have you got? Oh, we have a set of red jerseys. Oh, yeah. Give us 12 of them or whatever they needed, you know? And that's kind of the way the kit manufacturers worked back then. It wasn't anything kind of, you know, got to do with us wanting to wear red. I couldn't imagine. Anyway. But your jersey's lovely, Jeff. Sorry. We're going off topic here.
Yeah.
But Aston Villa is our opponents at the weekend. 5:30 kickoff, Elland Road. We're back in the ice rink, more Torval and Dean, everyone's slipping all over the place in the new Elland Road surface. But one person who won't be able to take advantage of slipping all over the place is the one person who loves to be on the ground, Jack Grealish. There's talk about him not playing, there's talk about him potentially playing and all that kind of stuff. Bielsa came out with the press conference today and said that he hopes he does play because he wants to play against the best teams and the best players every time that he lines up. Mostly, I reckon, because he's so OCD about finding out all the different information about the clubs, that all the games he watches, Jack Grealish is playing in them. So when Jack Grealish is not playing, he doesn't know what way the other team is going to play, or he's leaving something to chance, which we know from in the Spygate incident that he doesn't like to leave anything to chance. So Aston Villa obviously still have a lot of threats apart from Jack Grealish. How do you think we'll do against Villa?
The it's hard to say because you could either get a very strong performance out of Villa or a very poor performance out of Villa. They showed it this year. Like they played very well against Liverpool. They played. They obviously didn't play well against us. We beat them 3-0. Like they're a team who are hot and cold this season. So I'd say it'd be a fairly close game this time. I'm going to say 2-1 Leeds maybe.
2-1 Leeds. My prediction is 3-2. So far, just based on memory, this will be Marcelo Bielsa's fourth game against Aston Villa. The first one was the infamous 3-2 game where we were 2-0 down. I think was it Jack Clark,
and Roof.
Kemar Roof in the last few minutes. I think they were wearing this jersey, funnily enough. The next match after that was the infamous 1-0 draw where Matthias Klick opened the scoring. I was at that match. And
I was at it too, yeah.
And then everyone was left going on in the crowd because we didn't know what was going on because I was on the furthest possible point away from Bielsa, sitting up in the gods. But that infamous 1-1 draw and the Bamford dive and then there's a red card.
Yeah. No, I think it was Benghazi.
Was it? Yeah.
I think it was Benghazi. Yeah.
Hurahan, obviously he won't be playing. He's off with somebody else now on loan. Who was it, Preston or somebody? And then of course we beat them 3-0. So Bielsa has actually played them 3 times, and the only time they got a result out of us, we let them score the goal. So Bielsa's a fairly decent record against Dean Smith. I think most Leeds fans have grown a little dislike for Aston Villa over the last few years. I remember back in the 90s, nobody really minded Aston Villa. They had the likes of Andy Townsend, Ray Houghton, and Paul McGrath. And if you were Irish, you kind of didn't mind them. You know, you liked them in a sense because the Irish lads were there. But I think over the course of the last few years, the whole Chelsea John Terry thing and this smug face on him, and Dean Smith, I think, is a little bit smug and arrogant as well. So I think Leeds fans have grown a little bit of a dislike for them. So I would like to get one over Villa. I have quite a few Aston Villa mates as well, both here in Ireland and over in the UK. And I think I'm owed about 20 gin and tonics because that's our bet with Rob Turner over in Birmingham. I hope Rob is watching this. Be racking up the gin and tonics next time I'm over in the UK. You might as well just buy us a couple of bottles at this point. So I'm hoping for the good game. I'm hoping for 3 points. If we do, we leapfrog Villa. I think we go into 8th if we win that game. Which is going to be huge, you know. We really will be mixing it with the big boys in there. Plus, if we do get the 3 points on Saturday as well, you're still kind of looking at that 40 points. Not because you think you're going to get relegated, because I think now we need to set ourselves a new target. And once we get to 40 points, we can start aiming to get to 50 points. And once you get into that kind of zone, you're really setting yourself a nice bar for next season to beat. I'm going to go for 3-2 Leeds. I'm going to go for a repeat result of Bielsa's first game against Aston Villa. I think, as Bielsa said in his press conference again, there is similarities between both teams. We're missing probably one of our most charismatic, influential players in Calvin Phillips. I'm going to go against Marcelo Bielsa and hope that Grealish doesn't play, purely based on the fact that he's a player that can produce something from nothing, and he's a class act. He's a huge amount of assists to his name. And if he dries up the supply to Ollie Watkins a little bit, I think it's going to give us an extra bit of a chance to get a result from the game. I think our players to watch in that game, I think Bamford is going to be able to prove a point, but I think they're going to be able to prove a point about Bamford as well, and try not to give him as much time and space, because I think they're more aware of his capabilities now than they were at the time. I think maybe they might have slightly underestimated him, like the rest of us at the start of the season. Yeah. You know, Raphinha is going to be danger man. Jack Harrison is a player for me that he does well for a few matches in a row, and then he goes missing for a few matches in a row. He gets taken off at half time a lot. Now, I think there's got to be something behind that. You can't keep, even if you want to refresh the team, there can't be a reason that the same player is getting taken off all the time. Alioski is in the same boat, and he's found himself out of the team. So if there was a change, and I don't think there will be, I'd be 99% sure. But if there was to be a change, I reckon the change would be Costa in for Harrison and let Costa and Raphinha swap over, because I thought Costa's second half performance against Southampton is probably the best 45 minutes he's played for Leeds.
Yeah, like I probably agree with you. There probably won't be any changes, but on the off chance there is, he probably would do that. Harrison for Costa.
Yeah. I think Helder Costa's body language and performances kind of between Christmas and maybe Crystal Palace so bad.
Yeah, he wasn't getting stuck in, and he was very quiet. Yeah.
He was giving balls away. He was giving free kicks away. His first touch after coming on was usually an absolute nightmare. I think he gave away a free kick against Crystal Palace. The first thing he'd done was a Palace, somebody anyway, and we ended up scoring on the break from the free kick. So that was his first contribution, but it was a negative turn positive. So let's hope there's a little bit of a turn in confidence for Helder Costa. Whether he starts or whether he doesn't start, I think he'll still be one of Bielsa's impact players. That's what Marcelo likes. We all know that he likes to have somebody coming off the bench who's going to impact the game. Alioski is another one, but we don't really have anybody else in the experience stakes that can do that off the bench. So I reckon that Helder Costa will get his chance on Saturday, but he probably won't start the game. So yeah, I'm going to go for 3-2.
Who scores?
Scorers. I'm going to go Bamford 2 and Raphinha 1.
Yeah, I guess probably I'm going to say Raphinha and Bamford.
Yeah, it seems to be everyone's choice these days.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's kind of a wrap for this week. We hope to have another couple of guests lined up in the close future. We are talking with a couple of players at the moment. Again, we'd like to thank everybody for following us and tuning in. And don't forget, just underneath here, I'm going to put some magic words in, and it's going to be a link to our Facebook and our Twitter and our YouTube. So if you can get over and like them, subscribe, and do all that kind of stuff, and help us grow as much as we can. The Bielsa Ball podcast has been a pleasure for both myself and Jeff, and we do want to see it growing into something even bigger. Lockdown has been pretty non-eventful for most people. Football is the one thing that's kept everybody going, and to get on here and talk about our beloved Leeds United and share it with all you has been an absolute pleasure. So spread the word. We need the word to get out there, and if you guys don't share it, somebody somewhere won't hear it. So listen, thanks for all the work that you have done so far in sharing it for us, and we hope we can bring you loads more episodes. So for another episode, I've been Tommy Rocket.
And I've been Jeff Edwards. Thank you for tuning in.
Until next time. Absolutely. Until next time, Super Leeds, MOT. Leeds.